just going to be very casual, because there's a few of us who want to say some special words about Mum. First of all, thank you all for coming today to bid farewell to our gorgeous Bevvy and celebrate her fabulous life. And it was a fabulous life. Mum was always a go-getter, a woman ahead of her time, and we're hoping that by sharing even a few anecdotes, stories, and some of her backstories, we can somehow do a little justice to the legacy that she has left behind. Born at 14 Parish Road, Sandringham in Auckland, New Zealand, on the 24th of August 1937, Beverly Catherine Murphy was the youngest and consequently most spoilt child of Rosina May Murphy and James Murphy, preceded by her siblings Hazel, Jimmy, Stanley, Mona and Edith. Mum was a somewhat unexpected birth, arriving 14 years after the next youngest, Edith. Mum attended Good Shepherd Primary School and received a secondary school scholarship to the local Catholic school. They didn't have much money in those days, so that was a really big deal back then. On finishing school, she worked at an office job at Carter Holt and then had various other positions before she went on to study at Teacher Training College. She used to tell us that she only had two dresses, a work dress and a home dress. But we are happy to report that she made up for this later in life with a fondness for regular clothes shopping, a habit that our husbands are internally grateful that she handed down to us. Mum was very close with her family, particularly her sisters, who were like second mothers to her. And I'm just going to acknowledge that today we have one of the granddaughters from each of her sisters in the room with us. So thanks for coming, ladies, that's really special. Her nieces and nephews have many wonderful tales of Mum, who they claim was like a big sister to them, and by all accounts was the fun auntie that was much adored. She rode a scooter, with her tales of her taking the nieces and nephews for rides across the newly completed Auckland Harbour Bridge on the back of that scooter, and she taught many of them how to drive in her Ford Prefect, and was very much a part of a very big and large extended family. When Mum was in her 20s, she had Lee, and that was a big call in those days for a Catholic woman to have a baby out of wedlock. But Mum, she was a gutsy lady, and she had an incredibly supportive family around her. And Lee was a cherished addition to the family and lived with Mum and Nana at Parish Road. Jill's going to talk soon about when Mum met Dad in 1969. William Patterson, otherwise known as Dad, and after a brief relationship, they married in August, the day before Mum's 32nd birthday.
Hi. Mine is very casual. I'm Jill, I'm the stepdaughter to Bev. This is a bit of a mix-up of my two brothers. Doug's here and Ian, he couldn't come over, but it's a mix-up of our memories together. Our mum died in May 1968. Ian had just gone 11, Doug 9, and I was 7. And she had been ill for a long time and out of hospital for all that time. We lived in a close-knit community in Henderson, and it was a traumatic time for us. But Dad and Bev met early 1969, and I believe it was for a newspaper ad, but I don't know if you guys... I thought it was for I thought it was through a newspaper ad, which is the 1960s Tinder for you young guys. The relationship obviously worked. After dining and dancing for a few months, a wedding was being arranged. Bevvy and Dad got married in August 69. I was 8 at that time. Miss Murphy, who had become known as Bev to us by that time, was now to be called Mum. Needless to say, it was a very challenging time for us all. Ian, Doug and I had to adjust having another authority figure in the home. Lee had to adjust from being an only child to one of 4 and a middle child, so yeah, that's not easy. It was a huge adjustment for everyone, and there were many ups and downs along that learning curve. Along with Bevvy became an extended family who Nick has already mentioned. Her mum, Nana Murphy, made the best meat pies and caramel slice ever, and that used to be our Sunday night dinner. I have fond memories of the extended family camping trips down to Whangamata and Hahei, they're beach resorts down in the Coromandel in New Zealand. Us 4 big kids would be cramped in the car, singing away with Bev leading us, singing Valerie, Valdora. Come on, you guys know that. Yeah. Great memories were made and experiences had. You know, even collecting the pawas and eating fresh pawa fritters at the beach. If it wasn't for Bevvy coming into our lives, we wouldn't have had these wonderful memories or the pawa fritters. The trips to the farm, to Auntie farm and to Alga's Bay never disappointed either. They were just wonderful memories. When I was 11, Nicola was born. I'm not going to go too much into that because I'm still getting over that. And 18 months later, Steffi was born. These girls were and still are a welcome addition to this blended family. My older brother Ian was telling me that it was Bev that taught him to drive in the Velox, but she did regret it not long after because he used to take the car without a licence and go joyriding. He also told me that when he'd get in strife at school, he'd actually go home from school, talk to Bevvy, who would give him advice on how to break the news to Dad. So that was pretty cool. I didn't know that until just recently. I didn't get in strife, so I was okay. As an adult, I can see how difficult it would have been for Bev and also Lee coming into our tight family unit. Bev went from being a single mum to 1 to being a mum to 1 and a step-mum to 3. And we weren't the easiest children. Well, always weren't. This took a lot of courage, strength and determination, which Nick has already covered. But for me, her courageousness and determination, her strength, and she was a really good role model for me in my life and a really good influence and a mother figure to me, and I do thank her, and I have thanked her. I am who I am today through the involvement of Bevvy in my life. That's me. I didn't try.
Alright, so I get the bit about Bevvy as a school teacher. So we were those kids, the lucky kids who got to have their mum as a teacher at the school they went to. In fact, she was my first ever teacher when I was 5, and I used to come home from school and say to her, Mrs. Patterson told me that I've got to do this reader tonight. I think because she was, of course, Mrs. Patterson. So we used to have to hang around for hours after school every day. Anything we ever did wrong at school was discussed in the classroom, and then Bevvy would know about it, and we'd get another telling off when we got home from school as well. She taught at various schools. Her longest stint was at the Holy Cross Primary School in Henderson, which is where Nick and I also went. She was a valued teacher and a member of the Holy Cross Church congregation. She was also, much to our horror, arguably the loudest singer in the church congregation. She was always a fun teacher. She was stern but fair, and as an avid armchair sports fan, she was known to wheel the TV into the back of the classroom so she didn't miss a minute of the cricket test matches. You've got to remember this was back in the 1980s, so it was a bit of a big deal. Mum was always most comfortable around her sisters. As a teacher, we were lucky to spend the school holidays with Mum, and we spent many school holidays, as already talked about, down at Edith's dairy farm. We would spend many hours hanging out with our large extended family and whatever other Auckland cousins were staying at the farm. We often think Mum particularly liked being at the farm because Edith would continue to run around after her, as she always had when Bevvy was a child. We've already touched on the camping holidays, so every Christmas we would go camping with all of Bevvy's sisters and their families, sometimes up to 80 people descending on a camping ground. This was always a very cherished holiday. Mum would spend a lot of time in Uncle Pat's caravan with Pat and Wally playing bridge and betting on the horses. Legacy, which I'm not very good at bridge, but I do like betting on the horses. She had a sharp mind. She was great at games. There was always something going on somewhere, and Bevvy used to love this time with her family. Jill just mentioned about the singing, so we've all got memories of Mum making us sing on car drives, and that was because, allegedly, so we didn't get car sick, but we're not so sure about that. It's always some form of torture. But yeah, so we used to sing, you know, Valerie, Valerie, which we're going to try and sing a little bit later. But Bevvy was fabulous, and the thing I'm eternally grateful to Bevvy for is telling me to marry Rob. young and silly, and whinging to her about men, boys, and how useless they all were, and I couldn't find a decent boyfriend. She said to me, you need to just look right in front of you. You've got such a perfect person ready and waiting, and of course I was too young and stupid to recognise any of that. So without Mum, my life would be very different today. So thank you, Bevvy, for seeing something that I was too stupid to notice. Anyway.
Unfortunately, in 1987, we lost Dad to cancer. His was a brave battle, and Mum stood very stoically beside him. It was a hard time for everyone. Steph and I were only 15 and 13. Mum and Dad had just started to enjoy some grandbabies and were settling into more of a less crazy time in their lives. Mum made some pretty gutsy calls during this time, and one of those was moving us over to Australia. We moved to the Gold Coast at the end of 1988, and whilst the weather was fabulous and we settled in okay, it was such a big call for Mum to leave her family and career as a teacher because she couldn't teach over here. However, she got a job at Telstra, and in usual Mum style, was part of the local leadership team in no time. She retired from work at 65 years and then embarked on some good old overseas adventures. She did some tours around Europe and arrived in the UK when Steph and Rob were living there. Unfortunately, a little bit worse for wear after coming down with a tummy bug. After being a complete misery for a couple of days, but never one to miss out, she came with Steph by train to Heathrow Airport to collect me from the airport. She hadn't eaten in days and was very miserable, but perked up when I pulled out some leftover Milky Bar, her favourite, out of my pocket. Just have a little bit to wet my mouth. Has since become our family go-to line whenever we're offered anything to eat. I was lucky at this time to tour around Israel with Mum and to do all the holy hotspots. And I have to apologise, Mum, for whinging about having to go to the hospital in Jerusalem because you had a scratch on your eye underneath your contact lens. I've since had a scratch on my eye, and Mum, I can't believe you didn't whinge more. Mum was a really active and involved nana. She loved all the grandkids, and the teacher in her just couldn't resist supplying them with a myriad of educational gains and books. Jake, did you want to come up and share some stories about Nana?
I just wanted to say that some of my favourite memories with Nana was when she used to take me on the trains in the school holidays, when it was her duty to look after me when Mum and Dad were both working. And then, and also as an adult, I could always go into the nursing home and get good advice from her and talk to her about intelligent topics. And I can definitely give credit to Nana for some of my intelligence. And also, thanks to all the ladies at the nursing home that took good care of her for many years. And that's all I wanted to say.
Bring that back down to earth. Poor Mum has endured a long battle with Parkinson's disease. We'd like to take this opportunity to thank her carers and friends who have taken such good care of her and shown her so much love during her illness. Thanks, Mum, for everything, for your strength in the face of much adversity, for your love, your songs, and your incredible sense of humour. I gave everyone a little card earlier with a verse to the Happy Wanderer on it. I've lost mine, so I can remember the words. Mum, we'd like to sing you out on your journey as you sung us on all of ours. I love to go wandering on the mountain track, and as I go, I love to sing my knapsack on my back. Valerie, Valdera, Valerie, Valdera, Valerie, Valdera, my knapsack on my back. You've suffered so much in recent years, Mum, and now you are at peace. Fly high with your mum, your sisters and brothers, and Dad in heaven. we will miss you. But we promise we will always just have a little bit to wet our mouth. Cheers, Bevvy. We love you.